everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the daily market outlook for futures and forex, where we take a look at our big six markets. The main goal of the outlook is to create a plan for tomorrow so we can be as prepared as possible for tomorrow's price action. So let's start in with the futures side of things, looking at the gold market. Gold had a pretty good rally this morning. Hopefully you guys were paying attention to the level that we were talking about yesterday, where buyers are probably underneath. Remember? Go back and watch the outlook video from yesterday. Huge reaction off the 68.1, just a rocket ship back up towards the highs. And they got a little overzealous, right? Looking at the buy side, the buyers, they did really good, but a lot of the work was done towards the end of the trend, right? The end of the trend, rather, right? So we've got the nice move up, they stalled a little bit, another nice move up, and then a huge wham right through the highs, right? So with that type of movement, you tend to believe that this is probably going to be a little more exhaustion than anything else, because they spent all of their bullets on the run higher. So with that run higher and just the amount of overdone that the buyers were, we're probably going to see a couple different things. One of two things, really more than anything, is either a range for a while and then a continuation back to the upside, or we're going to see that 3-point high that we were talking about in the market psychology video today, and then a correction. Now, in this case, a correction happened for a decent amount of time. We're pulling back pretty far now into a new bear channel. This bear channel arguably does have a little bit of a midline in there as well. Pretty, it's fairly obvious in that we're finding an area of resistance off of that. But the big channel highs, we have a little bit of a ways to go until we get there. The big area that I'm really looking for, kind of the line in the sand, if you will, for the gold traders, buyers at 73.7 to 73.2, that's the area that I really want to see them defend, because that's that huge move that they had towards the upside. If they fail there and they don't hold it in for a bounce back up towards the top side and get that run going, maybe not back to the highs, but at least make a good attempt to, we could easily slap right below it, find it as resistance, and dump right back down to that 68.1 area. So this is kind of the do or die zone. The buyers need to show up around the 73.7 to 73.2 area if they're going to have any kind of a chance to get it back up towards those highs. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want to be a buyer initially off of that area, and if they fail, I'm looking to sell it back down to those lows. Next up is going to be crude oil. Crude oil, for the most part, is just range bound, right? We did end the day fairly bearish, but for the most part, that didn't happen until kind of the end of the day. We started off with the initial range here. They expanded to a new range down here. They're about the same size as one another. Not a coincidence, if you ask me. And now we're just kind of rallying around this area. 49.82 is going to be a huge area of support down here, where we're expecting to see some buying pressure. Now, there may just be buying pressure in the sense of sellers who have been selling this whole move down. They're taking profit. So they may just be sellers turning into buyers for the short term and then looking to reload for another drive down. That is definitely a possibility. But at the moment, we can't ignore that 49.82. That's a huge brick wall, or I guess brick floor, that the sellers are going to have to break through if they're going to get it back through the lows. And now at this point, if they do even get it back to the lows, they're not really proving a whole lot down here. I have to assume that there are nothing but buyers that are waiting underneath that low at the moment. So looking to sell short term, but I would much rather see a big correction up, find some selling pressure out of that 50.59 to 50.47 area, and then give it another shot to the downside. And then finally, the Dow. No, you don't have to adjust your screen. This is the Dow chart. We had quite a move after 10 o'clock, arguably afternoon. Talk about a run, right? The Dow had a absolutely gargantuan bullish day today. From the low to the high, you're looking at a run of about 340 points, give or take a few. Now, with this kind of run, it's all parabolic. There isn't a pullback, right? The only pullback they had was this little guy right here, and that's it. Right, so we're going into a little bit of a range here. Not a big surprise. After a run like this, I think everybody and their brother is taking profit on their long positions here. So what I'm looking to do is I don't want to buy this high anymore. That's too high. We've already had that move done and over with. There's going to be a lot of buyers who are chasing the move. They probably bought above the highs. They realized they were wrong, and they got out of break even. I'm looking to buy the lows. I want to buy 19,493 or below it especially if we can get to 19,446 to 430. If we can get a quick little dip down into that area, especially the big one, I'm looking for a big correction right back up towards the highs. Now, if we just bounce off of that 493 area, we may have a continuation to the upside to kind of retest the highs of a possible wedge top. If we get a deeper correction, then the odds are more likely in favor of a slight overshoot of a double top, and then we go into a range. Either way, though, we're looking to be buyers and pretty aggressively considering this massive run higher. Now switching gears over to the Forex market, we're looking at the EURUSD. The euro had a nice rally, but again, another one of those situations where it was kind of grindy on the way up and it did all of the work in the final couple candles of the move. And now we're seeing a lower high. Big concern here. So with that lower high and the fact that we're not really seeing the buyers continue, I want to see a correction. I want to buy low. I don't want to buy way the heck up here because now we're just too expensive. This is probably going to cycle into a range, and I want to buy the range lows. And that's between 1.07440 down to 7413 or so. If this area that we're talking about here in green, if this doesn't hold, that's a big problem. This lower high is showing that the buyers have lost a lot of faith at the top, and if they can't break a new high and hold this area as support, and they break underneath it, I'm looking for a big drop lower and a possible sell opportunity down to 71.47 instead. So the buyers need to show up to the party. If they don't, I'm looking to turn it around and go the opposite direction down to a big bear target. Looking at the pound dollar, for the most part, we're range bound, right? We seem to have found a little bit of a bottom here. We did have a slight gap down, and with that gap down, that leaves a gap fill at 26,314. And there's also just this distance in here, which is pretty apparent that they're holding that area as resistance, and we're inside of it right now. So I'm looking at this entire area as a possible area to sell. What I would rather see, though, is a quick snap higher, trap in the buyers. We have an ascending wedge, a breakout to the upside, very unsustainable movement, and that would also fill the gap at 26,314. Look to sell around that area for a big dive right back down, at least down to 25.90, if not a little lower to the major objective at 25.784 to 25.702. So a possible sell winding right around the corner here on the pound dollar. If we can get a quick little snap higher, we might have a short opportunity to get it going into the overnight session. And then finally, the dollar yen, nice bearish trend working its way lower. Overall, the dollar yen, it's been bearish over the past couple days, right? We went into a range, they tried to break out to the top side, and today they have now failed. With that failure, though, they got a little aggressive down here. We had a twin reversal off of the bottom, and they really haven't come back, right? We've had a big bullish reaction off of that low. Arguably, they were trying to get a little bit of a bull flag here, and they're trying to get it going right now. If this doesn't get going, which, by the way, I'm not super interested in being a buyer here. I would rather be a seller. If it does go back up to the highs, I wouldn't mind reselling a test of that earlier wedge bottom. But if this fails and can't get going to the upside, if we can break through this area of support at 113.702, it could just be bombs away right back down to the lows. Now, the amount of aggression that came into the lows and then completely stepped aside, that tells us that this area down here, if we get back down to these lows, I'm not expecting it to go much through them. Maybe it bounces off the top edge, maybe it bounces off the bottom edge, but either way, those two areas are going to be big areas of objectives, right? Taking partial profits, etc. So 113.533 and 113.412, those are profit potential areas for sellers to dive down into if they can get this sell side going and break down this bull flag potential. So that's going to do it for today. Hopefully you had a good day of trading. If you were on the Dow and you were long, you definitely did have a good day of trading. That may mean that tomorrow is a little bit choppy, whippy. We're going into Thursday tomorrow, end of the week, etc. So just kind of play it a little bit careful. The overnight session may be kind of interesting, though, because most of the markets today, aside from the Dow, we're in a range. And whenever you have a range in one session, it usually is going to either go into a continuation of the range or a breakout in the following session. So the overnight session might have some pretty good moves for you European traders or Australian traders. You might have some fun. So make sure to make that plan, trade the plan, stick to those rules, and you'll be just fine. And until tomorrow, we'll see you next time.